I don't drink enough sweet wines.
I'm sweet enough.
That's kind of wrong. I think I should be drinking a little bit more of them because there's so many good ones out there, and the varieties are incredible, and there's so much to explore. Today I'm going to change that story a little bit. I'm going to compare a little bit of old world and new world stickies. I've got this, an O2 Vin de Paille from the producer Jean Bourdy from Jura. And then I have this Little Straw Vineyards Auxerrois ice wine from 2002. Old world, new world. Very interesting comparison. See which style I prefer or not prefer. They differ from each other incredibly in how they're made, but how about in how they taste? Let's find out. What do we get in the glass? Look at that color. It's such a bizarre faded juice color. I don't know why it would be this color. I suppose it's a blend of the grape Pulsar and Sauvignon. I remember having an old port that was a color of this, but it was a port that was 100 years old. This is only 23 years old. Very, very interesting. Beautiful nose, lovely lifted tone. A bit of pear, almost quince pear, and then maybe brown sugar or something. Obviously sweet and maybe more dates. Oh boy, that is good. It's so light and yet intense. Very light juice, like almost like a natural fruit juice flavor, but then this intensity of sweetness and wine flavors that sort of start to do a twirly bird in my mouth. Not a ton of acidity, but enough to keep it fresh and keep it light. Those dates, it is dates, that's the flavor that's coming in here. And the sweetness that's so clean and pure, you know, when sweetness isn't cloying. Super, super complex wine. It feels like a sweet wine that's just had a touch of brandy. It feels very grown up, very, very noble and very sophisticated in that sense. It's not just like sweet juice type thing. It's not super playful. It's a little bit more serious. There's almost hay-like elements to it, high-toned thing on the nose. It's probably coming into my head a little bit because of how it's made. They can be made either hanging in batches, or they can be in a room, you know, dried out that way, or they can be dried out on straw pallets. That's traditionally the way they were done. And so the sugars concentrate, and then they press the juice from that, and then they get this super concentrated, very little bit of juice, and it's very precious, far more intense than how it looks. This is really, really, really good. I can't believe this sits in a barrel for 3 years before it's released. I think they make minuscule amounts of this. I mean, you know, in the hundreds of bottles every time. Real treasure, real old world treasure. Jean Bourdy is a producer who's been around since the 1500s. Makes very traditional styles of Sauvignon and those types of wines and Chateau Chalon. If you see some, give it a shot. I think if you like sweet wines, you're gonna like it. But even if you're not crazy about some styles of sweet wines, I think this is a nice alternative because it's, like I said, it's got that brandy quality almost to it, you know, so it's not just sweet. It has like a sophistication, a little bit of a grown-up feel about it. Highly recommended. What do we got in the glass? Look at that color. Oh my God, it's brown. It's pure brown, a deep golden toffee brown. I mean, caramel brown. Beautiful color, a beautiful, beautiful color. And this has got a much grapier, higher tone, but also a definite sense of molasses and brown, burnt brown sugar. Treacle, I suppose. Oh, that is fabulous. Okay, first of all, this is the Auxerrois. It's a nice wine. The fruit is what's fantastic about them generally, when they're young especially, right? Because they're so fresh and flashy, and they've got this precision and purity and sharp, beautiful, happy to be alive sense about them. This has that high tone of fruit, but it's integrated with this beautiful, beautiful molasses cloud, chocolate and cigar smoke and cloves and it's so good. Cocoa. It's very rare to get an ice wine from 2002. You don't see them very often. Most people don't age ice wines. I think it's worthwhile sticking a few bottles aside and seeing what they're like, you know, with a few years down the road. They gain these toffee elements with age that are just fantastic without losing their true character. That fruit, that beautiful bright yellow fruit. The acidity is perfectly perfectly integrated. It's not super, super long, but it's just so balanced. Everything is in there. And it's quite a mouthful, right? This is from this little winery, Little Straw Vineyards, making wine since the 90s. The Auxerrois vines that they use for this apparently are some of the oldest in the Okanagan Valley. Not too much information on this wine. I haven't seen any tasting notes or anything like that. I mean, it's a pretty rare find. I can't say enough good things about this. This is just so good. It really took me back to one wine, either the 07 or the 08. Croc Parentou from Emmanuel Rouget, believe it or not, was one of those Christmas spice wines that had a lot of cloves and cinnamon and a real Christmas dark flair about it. It doesn't taste anything like that, but it reminds me of it. It brings me back to that wine, which was a great tipple, and at the same time, it's got its own style, its own presence. This is top of the pop stuff. If you do see them, I mean, this is a no-brainer. Well, that was fun. I mean, when you're comparing Old World, New World, there's such different styles. This one takes 3 years in barrel. This one probably doesn't take 3 years in barrel. It's probably just a few months, if anything. The grapes are picked frozen after they've shriveled on the vines, and they have a constant temperature of -8 degrees. These are picked and then dried for, I don't know how long, but long enough to concentrate the sugars and then press it and then, wait around in a barrel. And then you get these two very, very different styles, completely different grapes, different approaches from different ends of the world, really, and both bring joy and pure joy in their own way. Really, really good. I really respect. This is such an old school type of thing. It feels, even the label, you feel like you're in the presence of something from the old days, the France of yesteryear type of thing. And this is just a complete unknown. I hope somebody's out there buying these. These are real treasures. They don't cost that much. One of the wines of the world where what you're paying for reflects the actual true cost of the making of the wine. That's not always the case, I would say, with most other wines. All right, thanks a lot for watching. Leave a comment if you want to. And hey, stay thirsty.